Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're looking at this video. It's my pleasure to introduce to you today Mr. Scott Hill. He's the Director of Athletic Training Services slash, do we still say sports medicine?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, great. So Scott has agreed to answer a few questions, and perhaps we may go off the list of questions, but we're going to give you an opportunity to come back with questions as well. So, to start us off, Scott, can you give a background of your career in athletics, how you got to where you are right now?
I actually graduated from UNCW back in 1987. At the time, it was a just internship program. We didn't have the curriculum program that we currently have now. So once I graduated from here, I went to Old Dominion University and got a master's in athletic training. And I have worked at collegiate level, high school level, clinical level, and all aspects of with physicians' offices as well, PT offices as well, and definitely enjoyed this clientele of people
Great.
that I work with.
And how long have you been here?
I've been at UNCW for 8 years now.
Okay, great. So, could you describe some of your basic duties and responsibilities?
I oversee a staff of 8, so there are a total of 9 athletic trainers. I direct the other staff of 8, everything from setting up their schedules to setting up physicals for all incoming freshmen and transfer student athletes. We also get involved in day-to-day coverage of practices. I take care of directly the men's and women's swimming and diving program. So I deal with those student athletes directly. Then I'm also involved in a lot of meetings from a standpoint of senior staff with the athletic department. Also get involved a little bit with some things from the academic side, acting as a clinical instructor for our student athlete, our athletic training students, and going from that standpoint.
Okay, great. What do you spend most of your time doing in this position?
Probably the majority of time spent is administrative. Everything from dealing with, the staff scheduling, dealing with making sure that all student athletes have the necessary paperwork, making sure that they have the necessary things that they have to be able to come in to participate. And then, secondly, is student athlete well-being and treatments, injury prevention, rehabs, stuff like that.
So it sounds like you spend a good amount of time doing administrative responsibilities, but do you miss the day to day, or you have enough day to day contact with student athletes?
I would much rather just do day to day. I like dealing with the student athletes. I really enjoy interacting with them and helping them get over an injury or helping them prevent injuries. I really enjoy that.
So give me so if somebody reports an injury to you, so what's that process?
Um, let's say one of either my coach or one of my student athletes with the swimming and diving team come to me and they talk to me about an injury. I will evaluate that, kind of see what I think is going on, and then make a determination: do I need to advance this person to our physicians, or do we try to do some things in house first? Then we primarily try to take care of their pain control and then rehab whatever the issue is. We usually try to do that for about, if it's not a glaring, hey, this needs to go to the doctor right now, 4, 5, 6 days. If they're not getting better at that point in time, then we'll direct them to the physician, because as we all know, we go to the physician, one of the first things they're going to have us do is some type of modified rest, some type of anti-inflammatory. So we go ahead and kind of jumpstart that before we send them over, if we are able.
Great. So you speak about some positives about this position. What seems to be the biggest problem, or what's most problematic, difficult in your position?
I think probably, obviously from probably everybody's standpoint, it's financial. Is having the resources that you would want to have to be able to do the job that you to the best of its ability. We do the best that we can with what we have, but in every job, a little bit more money would be much more beneficial because there's a lot of programs out there that could benefit student athletes, but it seems everything costs money to do and implement and things like that. So, and plus the cost of just day-to-day activities of what we use and the price of our tapes and whatever has gone up over the last 5 years drastically.
So if somebody gave you a potload of money, what would be the first thing you would do with that in this athletic training office?
We would probably improve some of our modalities that we have. Maybe get into a little bit more, doing some research on. There's different types of electrical STEM modalities. There's different types of laser modalities. There's different types of training equipment that you can utilize. Trying to do some things like that. Biggest thing, getting the equipment that we would utilize for that. Then also doing some stuff with concussion management. There's some programs out there that you can get that cost money each year based on how many student athletes you have, and doing some background research and doing some baselines. We currently do some baselines, but there's some computerized baseline testing that you can do that it's just been is a little bit cost prohibitive for us right now.
Okay, so you mentioned concussions,
Mm-hmm.
so that seems to be really big.
Yep.
In all sports and athletics. Where are we in that concussion management or, as I think you've proposed, a return to learn program? Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yeah, the NCAA has made some changes in the last year or two to where it actually came out of the Power 5 conferences that they have, the autonomy that they have to where they can kind of create their own activities. They have mandated that all student athletes have a baseline concussion test, which the state of North Carolina mandated probably 2 years before the NCAA did, based on some laws that we have in our state right now. So everyone gets a baseline concussion test. Everyone has to have a return to sport activity, so it's a graduated return to sport over a period of days based on the symptomology. Then the new part is some type of return to learn program. We are in the phases of finalizing that right now. We have always had something in place, but never really had it written out. So we've done some research on some of the other schools, what they're doing, just to make sure that we're doing everything the right way and the best way and best practices that are out there.
Great.
So we do that right now.
So sometimes we hear that the student athlete gets all the privileges, but in regards to this concussion management program, you are also looking at for the whole
Right.
body, the
Mm-hmm.
whole student body.
Yeah, here on campus, you walk down Chancellor's Walk or you go down any of that, you can see how crowded it is. We've actually had student athletes that have gotten injured riding their bike on Chancellor's Walk or riding their skateboard. So it came to us, well, what happens to the general student if they're out at the beach surfing and they get a concussion, or they're in a car wreck. I actually had one of my student athletes come into a Saturday morning practice, was involved in a car wreck, and had a concussion. What would be the process if she was just a general student and not a student athlete? So we're trying to implement that and show the university that, hey, this will benefit all of our students. It's not just our student athletes that we're looking out for, because there's got to be some type of graduated return to getting back into the classroom, because the research shows us that if we can do that, the symptoms resolve quicker.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay,
I got a couple of questions.
excellent.
So some of the students in the class are in the program. They're going to move into administration at the elementary, middle, or high school level.
Okay.
How does athletic training work in high schools? Do they employ someone? Are they outsourced or?
I think it probably depends on which county you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about specifically in the state of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I know in New Hanover County, they're all employed by a high school. And they do not necessarily teach classes. they're employed strictly as an athletic trainer. I think some of them are trying to get to where maybe they'll teach a sports medicine class, or something such as that. I think some of the other counties is kind of up in the air. I know that there's a push to where there is an athletic trainer at all high schools because of the concussion laws that are written right now. If a student athlete at the high school level gets a concussion, they have to be seen by a physician or a healthcare provider. There has to be someone that graduates them through. There also has to be someone at every practice, especially for football, that is educated in the concussion awareness and all those things. So the athletic trainer is obviously that good person that can do that. So there is that push. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're probably getting pretty close.
Okay. Going back to the college or university level, administratively, you're under athletics.
Yes.
Are there other places where athletic training is under a different unit on campus? How does that work?
Yeah. There are some places that actually athletic training departments are under, like the Student Health Center, which would probably be under the Office of Student Affairs, I guess. And Chapel Hill is a perfect example of that. That's what they have. They also have their athletic trainers spend maybe one day a week in the Student Health Center because they have a PT clinic on campus that they'll go in and kind of do rehab with the general students as well. So they fall under that aspect, and that's, I don't know the percentage, but there's a good number of those in the country that are like that.
Okay, interesting.
So we know that there's been a lot of restructuring. I have one last question, I think.
Okay.
There's been a lot of restructuring of late in the governance of NCAA. Has that impacted your office at all?
In what way?
Well, I guess maybe it's back to resources in terms of the Big 5 or the Big 15 versus the mid-major.
Right.
Do you see anything coming down that may impact you? And I go back, one of the arguments was that this change of governance, which we keep hearing about that people don't know much about, but that it would be better for all student athletes for their well-being. Do you see any of that coming out of this whole restructuring? Or
I think, I say, and I may be wrong, but I say that I think it's going to be very interesting 5 years from now to see what the NCAA looks like. I could see, when you get the Power 5 conferences going out and doing their own thing, which they're going to do, and they've got the resources to do whatever they want to do. They're going to go do their thing. It's going to leave the rest of the NCAA kind of not knowing what really may be going on. So I think 5 years from now it's going to be very interesting. A, is the NCAA even going to be in existence any longer? And B, are they going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's no determination between Division 1, 2, and 3 any longer. Also, can it be that, hey, we're only going to recognize this many sports, and it be cut down to maybe 8 sports, 3 on the men's side and 5 on the women's side? I think there's a lot of things up in the air that we really don't know. But I think from our standpoint and in our conference, we are kind of mirroring what the Power 5 conferences are doing, especially with our concussion management program, because all of the institutions within our conference, there is a sports medicine committee. They are presenting their concussion programs. It all has to be written out right now. So they're presenting that to that committee. The committee is reviewing those, and not to say that, hey, this is right or this is wrong, but kind of best practices. And I think that's where athletic training is going, is what are the best practices now? What are we doing that's showing that the evidence behind this is really doing what we say it's been doing for the last 50 years that we've been in existence, So I think that whatever happens at that level, it's going to trickle down to some degree to us.
Right.
Now, we may not be able to do it at the level they do it, but I think that we're definitely going to get some benefit from it. I really do.
Great. Okay, that's good to hear. Right. Well, Scott, thanks a bunch for your time.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
and I'm thinking we